Wow. Starbucks is going to close down the whole shooting match for a day at the end of May, just to train their employees in how not to be, how not to be the people who are victimizing black people all the time for no reason whatsoever. So they're going to shut down 8,000 stores, 20-some thousand employees, maybe 29,000. I don't know how many people will work there. And they're all going to talk about white racism. And I heard Eric Holder on the radio this morning, PBS, talking about implicit bias. That's the big focus, right? Isn't it a little scary where the Attorney General, a man that we depend upon and enforce the rule of law, is about evidence. It's like what you saw, what you heard. You have witnesses here and there. And the evidence on this whole business is so weak, what they have to say is, well, it's implicit, i.e. it's unconscious, i.e. we have to employ a whole nation of mind readers in order to help us figure the whole thing out. But one thing we don't figure out, one thing we don't talk about, one thing they won't talk about at Starbucks is while they're thinking about the millions of ways that white people are relentlessly racist to black people all the time, everywhere, that explains everything, they won't talk about black on white hostility. You notice I didn't say black on white racism or black on Asian, black on young, black on old, etc., racism. I'm astonished at the number of people on this channel who get suckered into these semantic rabbit holes. Because they'll say, well, black people are racist. They can be racist too. Then somebody will say, no, that's impossible. So instead of talking about something that's really important and urgent, like this level of black violence and hostility that's wildly out of proportion that we document here all the time, people go down the semantic rabbit hole, the linguistic rabbit hole, and argue about the meaning of the word racist. Did you study linguistics? Did you study semantics? Why do you feel you have to be an expert on it? Why do you feel like you have to talk about what the people who are defending black hostility towards white people, why do you have to feel you need to talk about what they want to talk about? Smarten up. Every couple of years, the NAACP or some black group has to put out a memo. Started doing this a few years ago because all the rap groups were doing all this anti-Jewish, anti-gay rap lyrics. They still do a little bit, but it's calmed down now. But they put memos out. They go, you know what? This whole anti-gay thing is not cool because black people are very anti-gay, but it's not cool anymore. So let's not do it anymore, people. Okay? Ditto for Jewish people. I mean, we got Jesse Jackson talking about Hymingtown. We got Al Sharpton leading an anti-Jewish riot in Brooklyn. And you put out a memo saying, oh no, we're not like that anymore. Black people don't hate gay people. They don't hate Jewish people. The amount of violence and hostility directed at black people and Jewish people, at Jewish people and gay people, well, that's minimal now because 50 Cent said we're not going to do that anymore. That's the fantasy. Break the bubble. See, the reality is that black on Jewish, black on gay hostility is still a thing, no matter how many memos the NAACP wants to put out and pretend are really the truth. Why don't we look at this example from right down in Washington, D.C., where it's funny, they always get the numbers wrong. They're going to tell us that 2 or 3 people beat up 2 gay people. There weren't 2 or 3 people there. There were like 7 or 8 there. And if there's a couple of people beating the hell out of a gay guy, a couple of people doing that, and there's 5 or 6 standing around watching it, if there's 5 or 6 hanging around with those other 2 people, how many people were in that crime? 2 or 7? Come on, get it right.
2 men were viciously attacked early Sunday morning in Northwest D.C. Take a look at this video. I can't even watch this. Police are concerned this may have been a hate crime. Fox 5 uncovered the video of the incident that happened at 10th and U Streets. Evan Lambert tonight has the story. He's been working on this since it happened. He joins us now with the latest. Evan.
Sean, D.C. police say that the attack happened on this corner here, and we want to get to that video in just a moment. But we are learning tonight from police that they believe this was an unprovoked attack. The victims recovering from serious bodily injury. And before you see that video, I want to warn you that it is graphic and violent. Here is the video that was shared by a witness on Twitter. It was posted this afternoon, and in the video you see at least two men kick and then punch another man in the head while he's on the ground. That man gets up and runs away. Then you see a second man appearing to trip or have been pushed into the frame. He falls into the street and is knocked unconscious, we're told. One victim reportedly had a broken nose and teeth, while the other had a concussion. The suspects run off, and several other people then come to help one of those victims. You cannot hear any homophobic slurs in the video that we've edited for language and to not identify the victims, but police do say that slurs were used during the course of this attack. D.C. police also released still frames of the suspects from this video. The police head of the Special Liaison Unit said hate crimes will not be tolerated.
This type of act, this violent criminal act, does not serve the District of Columbia, and it certainly doesn't reflect the D.C. values that we hold true here in the District of Columbia. We take these very seriously, and we know that while it was a crime against two individuals that were injured here, that there are many, many other people, not just in the LGBT community, but in the surrounding neighborhood, and also their friends, family members, and coworkers who may be impacted by a crime like this. And that's why it's so important that members of the community who may have information get that information to us so that we can bring these people to justice.
Now, this attack has prompted us to take a look at hate crimes statistics across the district. MPD says there were 163 bias-related crimes in the first 11 months of 2017. That is 60 more than the same time period in 2016, most of those related to race or sexual orientation. Now, when something is called a hate crime and there is a hate crimes conviction, someone's sentence can be multiplied by 1.5 times. We're also learning tonight that there will be a vigil on Thursday near DuPont Circle to bring attention to these kinds of assaults. Again, anyone with information is asked to call police, and police say they have stepped up patrols in this area, and they always do after something happens like this.
Now, why don't we head up to Williamsburg, up in Brooklyn? Well, we've done it. Somebody sent me an email the other day, and I probably was a little short with him when I shouldn't have been. Said, hey, Colin, check this out. Did you know that black people are, beating up gay Jewish people all the time? Happens a lot. I said, dude, nobody's written and talks about that more than I have. Nobody. Don't make the black kids angry. Watch our videos. The amount of black on Jewish violence and hostility is enormous. And here's a case right here. We're going to talk about a few cases, but here's one that just happened in Williamsburg. That's where I think they're known as the fundamentalists or the Orthodox Jews hang out. They dress in a certain way. They kind of, and they're easy targets. Two Orthodox Jewish guys walking down the street, 5 black guys, 3 guys, 2 lovely ladies come up. They start beating the hell out of them for no reason whatsoever. New York Daily News, New York Post actually does occasionally. They actually do a decent story on this from time to time. I think they missed this one. This was big news a couple of years ago in Williamsburg when lots of Jewish people were being victims of black violence on an almost daily, if not daily, almost daily basis. And it finally made the news. The Jewish leaders up there were going, hey, what's up with this knockout game? Very few would say it was a black on Jewish thing. So I helped it along a little bit by documenting what kind of enormous pattern there is of black on Jewish violence and hostility, and on and on and on we went. And the story kind of petered out, but the violence continued. What I thought was really the strangest thing of that whole episode of black on Jewish violence in Williamsburg was the reaction of a new city council member from Brooklyn named Lori Cumbo. So Lori comes out and does a Facebook posting and says, and this made the news, she says, well, hey, I'm really sorry about all the black on Jewish violence down there. Sorry about that, people. Lori's black. She represents that neighborhood. She goes, but here's the problem. Black people feel that Jewish people are not sharing their success. And that's why we have a problem. Okay. She said that. We documented this pretty thoroughly in video and in a lot of stories I've done since then. And so when you have a black, and this is, she said lots of things like that since then. Like she and her buddies on the council were complaining that in that neighborhood, public housing, there were too many Asians in the public housing, because everybody knows the public housing is meant for black people. We did a story on that too. So this amount of black hostility towards Jewish people, Asian people, is enormous and easy to see. But there doesn't seem to be any consequences for it. So Hillary Clinton came into Brooklyn to campaign when she was running for president, and who was at her side? Who was stuck to her like glue during the entire time she was there? Laurie Cumbo, the same woman going around and saying to black people it's okay to beat up Jewish people because, well, sometimes Jewish people are not sharing their success. So I don't know if this will ever come up. They're at the Starbucks convention, these 8,000 stores that are going to close so they can all teach us about white racism. But I'm telling you, you know, the Starbucks did this a couple years ago, right? When they did the race forward thing. I personally am looking forward to lots and lots of letters and emails from you guys after this happens, where you can go into your Starbucks and go, okay, I understand the white people are relentless racists all the time everywhere. That explains everything. But how do you explain this enormous amount of black on gay crime? How do you explain this enormous amount of black on Jewish violence? How do you explain that, Starbucks? You're not going to talk about that, Starbucks? Because your policy over there is no matter what else happens, don't make the black kids angry.